Good morning and a warm welcome to Goal Line Gossip from beautiful British Columbia. I'm Jishnu Dasgupta, aka Jishmeister, repping the 1940s Arsenal. And this is Saul. He's repping Manchester United. We are recording our first ever video to discuss what we love the most, the Premier League and its big honchos. Today we'll be discussing affairs at our favorite, not so favorite clubs like Liverpool, Chelsea, the North London Bad Boys, and the blue and the red halves of Manchester. So without further ado, let's get going. So our first topic in discussion today is Newcastle United, the high-flying Newcastle United, and then we just need to be talking about whether they're imposters or they're truly, top four contenders. So yeah, the first topic is, are Newcastle out of the top four race after, the string of draws and the recent loss to Liverpool, the way they, the Nick Pope, did all these things and they kind of capitulated. So let's talk about that. What do you think about Newcastle United, Saul?
Yeah, I think that they are definitely knowing or unknowingly stepping their foot off the gas. It seems like the only thing that they care about this season is to win the Carabao Cup, which is a great achievement. Just like our club, Newcastle, just like Manchester United, Newcastle, they've not won trophies for a while, and definitely winning a domestic cup is a huge achievement. So I'm speculating, but that's my prediction. I think that's going to be the highlight. Whether they win or United win, that's a different thing. But being in the final of the Carabao Cup, it's a great achievement for a club that has not been doing so well in the past years with Rafa Benitez and other managers not working out. The fact that they have a manager in Eddie Howe who's doing a fantastic job in terms of keeping them in top four, keeping them in the first half of the table in the Premier League. It's excellent. From a team perspective, I do think they don't have the right players in their team to probably stay at top four, and I think their score line suggests that, throughout, if you analyze the last 5-6 weeks of game time they've had, it's almost like they're a team that they're really good defensively. They can stop the opponents from scoring, but at the same time, when it comes to creating chances, scoring on the other end, that's something that they've fell short. And now with yesterday's match, Nick Pope getting a red card, and they have some injuries as well. Sen Maxima, regardless of how amazing that player is, he's always been stricken with injuries, and I think those are some of the things which will ultimately decide whether they'll be able to finish top four or not. But I personally think that they won't, and it's a huge opportunity for Spurs to catch up and go to top four. What do you think?
Well, here's the thing, I was in the beginning of the season, I had a chat with you, and I was kind of pretty confident that Newcastle's going to finish third, and not only fourth but third. I did not expect United to be in and around that that zone at the top of the Premier League. However, what happened was I had watched this match against Arsenal last season, and the way they dominated us with their physicality and everything, and that's where we kind of lost our top four chance as well last season. It broke me. I would say Newcastle broke us as a club last season. And it was because of players like Bruno Guimaraes, who we were heavily linked with, and I love that guy. And he's been missing for the past 4 weeks or so. I mean, he was missing yesterday as well. And it's evident that he's probably the only player that can potentially create chances, maybe drive with the ball up, from the defense to attack. The transition is so much better with Bruno on the pitch. You have players like Joe Linton. He was brought in as a striker, and he was a massive failure, right? And that guy is a behemoth I would say he's an amazing midfielder, box to box. He reminds me so much of Patrick Vieira, Yaya Toure, kind of, these kind of names, big names, big boots to fill for sure. They also have, really good quality strikers. I get it, Alexander Isak is a young gun, but he's proven that he is good. He has the ability. Callum Wilson is a seasoned goal scorer who's goal scoring ratio is probably 25 plus minutes, 25 minutes, 0.25 minutes per goal. And that's right up there with the Harry Kanes and and then the Mo Salahs of the Premier League in the last 4 or 5 years. I get it; he has been injured a lot. They also have bought a lot of good defenders that has solidified the defense. Players like Dan Burn, Fabian Schär, Sven Botman from Lille. They got Nick Pope this year from Burnley, and he has been a revelation as well. Even though he's going to be missing at the Carabao Cup final against you guys, I truly believe that that's a blessing in disguise for you guys because
Regarding
he's,
that,
he's
regarding the red card, did you
yeah.
know that there's a way to make Nick Pope play in the Carabao Cup? So if Newcastle appeal for the red card, Nick Pope will be able to play for the Carabao Cup, regardless of the decision in the end. He might get an extra match ban, but at the same time, there is a way for him to have him available for Newcastle. Although I think it's Eddie Howe said that they won't be triggering the appeal because it was an obvious red card. But yeah, it's just interesting that if they
I
want,
hope
they can
so.
do it.
I hope so. Listen, as a neutral fan, I would hope so. Just because their second keeper, what's that guy's name? The player that kind of came on yesterday after he was sent off.
Martin Defarge?
Uh, Dubravka. So he's cup tied and he won't be able to play the game as well. Do you know who the keeper is?
Who is it?
It's Lord Karius. So
Oh, yeah.
So I think him playing a game against Marcus Rashford the way he's playing is going to be bad for Newcastle. However, going back, we were kind of deviating from the original topic of discussion. In terms of them finishing the top four, I think if Bruno Guimaraes comes back with at least 10 to 12 games to play, they will be performing better. I think it's just a short blip right now. Defensively, they've not been poor. Yesterday, they were kind of caught off guard by Liverpool and they played really well. For those 10-15 minutes, they were really good. But even though Nick Pope was sent off, you could see that they created a lot of chances. They did create a lot of chances and they missed a lot of chances against a good Liverpool team yesterday with Van Dijk being back. And I still think that they'll probably get top four just because Tottenham is not really consistent. Or maybe it's just me wanting Newcastle because they've done it organically, even though they have, bins of cash, but they didn't really spend it like that. They didn't go like gung ho like Manchester City or Chelsea under when Roman first came to Chelsea. So I really, really like the idea that even though they've got all this money, the Saudi money, they're trying to do it the right way. They're really following a project plan. And I would hope that they win, they come in the top four, but it seems unlikely. But with Bruno Guimaraes, you never know. Yeah, we'll see. I don't, third position is not going to happen. My first, the part of the season prediction's gone. That's for sure. United's super good, and I don't see Arsenal and City losing top three either. So it's going to be top four, or probably it's going to be bust. They're probably going to finish maybe in a Europa League place, or maybe at best
Which is
Conference
fine.
League.
In my book, that's
Yeah,
a really good
yeah, yeah,
progress
yeah.
from what they did last season. So I think at the end of the day, they're going to be happy with being in
Yeah.
the final in Carabao Cup and not finishing top four. Worst case scenario, it can be better, top four and Carabao Cup winners, but let's see.
Well, still progression. They were,
Yeah.
mid-season last year. They were
Absolutely.
bottom of the league, 20th in the season, 20th in the table. Now, one team that we can probably say for sure is not going to finish anywhere close to the top four or top six is Chelsea. So we kind of want to transition into the next topic in line. Is Potter playing Quidditch or is he trying to play football? His last name is after somebody that we know famously as a boy wizard who's known to be playing good Quidditch, which is a fictional sport. But it seems like he's playing a fictional sport the way he's going, getting beaten against with Southampton, who are bottom of the league, 1-0. It's unacceptable. And they've probably won, I think, 1 out of the last 7 games, if I'm not wrong. But it is unacceptable. What do you think about Chelsea? Talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about Quidditch. Maybe Potter is trying to grab the invisible snake somewhere in the field, and maybe he thinks that's how he can win and not by scoring goals. I'm not good with Harry Potter, so my references can be a little off. But yeah, definitely, I think just looking at the internet, talking to some Chelsea fans, it sort of seems like they've reached or they're maybe closing to reach that tipping point where they want the manager out, which is obviously it's the next thing, right? So if it's not the players, it has to be the manager. That's how it is. That's
I
how
don't think it's
football
a matter
works.
of if, I think it's a matter of when. And I agree with you.
Yeah, but it's also about patience, right? So Chelsea against Southampton at Stamford Bridge. It's Southampton. They're at the bottom of the league. You cannot lose to Southampton at Stamford Bridge. The fans were booing, just like they were booing in the last 3 games. But I think this is a bit too much. I mean, again, I'm not going to go into the arsenal of players that they have. They have fantastic world class players, but at the same time, you cannot not score a goal against Southampton at Stamford Bridge. You have to.
Yeah.
And maybe that is going to be a defining factor whether Potter will be able to survive the season. Uh, Idealistically, he should be given the time, but I don't think for a club like Chelsea, who are like, they
Excuse me.
always react to things in a huge way, right? It's always like a knee-jerk reaction, and they buy big players, they spend a lot of money, they're not shy to spill cash, or fire the manager and get someone new. So maybe at some point, I think they have a Champions League game coming up against
Yeah.
Borussia Dortmund at Stamford Bridge, and they are trailing by 1 goal. So if he's not been able to win that match, I have a feeling that he will be sacked, and that's just on the basis of the situation. And it's Graham Potter. You have to understand. I mean, massive respect to that guy. Whatever he's done for Brighton, spectacular, and I'm pretty sure as a manager he'll only get better in the coming years. But as a Chelsea manager, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to retain that spot for a long time if they don't start winning. Even a draw can be bad, right? So if they draw against Borussia, they're out of the Champions League. And I know that Chelsea fans or all supporters, they're not thinking that they will go and win the Champions League, but at the end of the day, it's the round of
You
16. It's
never
again.
know. You never know. They did it twice in the
Well,
past decade where they were rubbish in the Premier League. They were absolutely rubbish in the Premier League, and they won the Champions League. Once they they had this caretaker manager, Roberto Di Matteo, right?
yeah.
And then last time with Tuchel, just 3 months in his job, and then they won the Champions League. They were nowhere close to being the best team in Europe those 2 years, and they still won the Champions League.
No, I
Now,
agree. Like to your point, if they want to win the Champions League, they'll definitely have to beat Dortmund. So that I think that match is huge. It can be a make or break for Potter. That's what I feel.
right. Listen, from my point of view, Chelsea since 2002, 2003, when Roman Abramovich took over, right? They've been a very toxic club, in my opinion. I'm an Arsenal fan, and I have massive respect for clubs with heritage that have built their heritage organically. Whether you look at Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal, even though Tottenham hasn't been successful, they're not, but they still, they have pedigree in terms of being in and around the top of the league, somewhere around, whether it's the top 6 or top 7, they've always been good. Chelsea, on the other hand, literally spent money and obnoxiously so. And I thought that was kind of gone, especially in the past 6-7 years. They've been selling a lot of players for good value, and they brought in a lot of good players, and they were doing it kind of right. But after Antonio Conte, I believe, and then Mauricio Sarri, things kind of got haywire, and they've again started spending crazy money. They went through that entire spending spree of Ziyech, Pulisic, Kai Havertz, Timo Werner, and all of those guys, right? And now, in the past, they've bought in 15, 16 players. I have not seen another team. Nottingham Forest is another example. They bought in 25 players. You cannot build a team by buying 25 individuals that have not played with each other. It's a team sport at the end of the day, right? Such a transition doesn't happen overnight. It was a toxic decision, in my opinion, from this guy Todd Bowley, and they're paying the price. And I'm so happy. Trust me, I'm like gloating with happiness and what is happening to them. And I don't think this project is gonna take off anytime soon. It's probably gonna take them at least another 12 to 18 months before these players gel. And then coming to the second point, as far as the manager is concerned, Graham Potter does not seem like he's as imposing as an Eric Ten Hag, let's say. He is not. He does not have control over the dressing room. Otherwise, you would have seen some reaction from the players. Eric Ten Hag has also come into management this year, right? He's doing well. He's doing phenomenally, right? So it's just not. Even when Arteta came in, he brought in some control, because these are characters that command respect in the dressing room. And if you cannot command respect, just the way Nuno Espirito Santo, right? I mean, he barely lasted 3-4 months, not even at Spurs. It's a similar story in my opinion. I don't think Graham Potter is cut out to be a big club manager. He'll probably go manage Tottenham because they're not a big club anyway. But Chelsea probably is too big a project for Graham Potter, and I'm happy they're nowhere close to top 4, top 6. They're where, the 10th, right? And I don't see them finishing anywhere above 8th or 9th, even with Reece James back or Ben Chilwell and all those guys. They're a phenomenal squad. That's not the point. The point is, this is not FIFA. This is not a career mode in FIFA where you buy players and they hit the ground running, right? It's a team sport where there has to be connections happening, where this player is going to take a move before you pass the ball and all of these things, and they're nowhere close to that. They were nowhere close to that. They're probably worse. They're probably the same place where they were with Timo Werner and Kai Havertz and all those guys. They've forgotten about Romelu Lukaku. They bought for 100 million, and that guy's plying his trade in Inter Milan right now. The kind of money they've spent, I'm sure that doesn't matter whether they're giving out contracts for 8 years, 9 years. They're just abusing the system, and an FFP better get on their backs. If City is being investigated, I don't know how come Chelsea is escaping the wrath of FFP. Right? So I mean, we're probably going to talk about Liverpool next. Liverpool, who were, I think, 10th or 9th, around the same points with Chelsea recently. Just about 3-4 game weeks back, and now they're finally kind of picking up. Cody Gakpo's got 2 goals in back-to-back games. Darwin scored in back-to-back games. Darwin seems like he has got his scoring boots again. He was playing like a clown, missing chances like crazy every game, right? And he is. It seems like he's finally getting a foothold of the Premier League, and Klopp is getting to his best. Virgil van Dijk's back, and I know that we did we didn't do a recording yet last week, but we were talking about how Fabinho's lost his feet and everything. But he looked so much more secure yesterday. So yeah, talk to me about Liverpool. What do you think? Are they going to replace Newcastle United, or do you think there's a potential late Premier League charge, even though they're 15 points off, but you never write them off if they go back to their original form? They could potentially win 14, 15 games in a row, right? So what do you think?
Yeah, I think they have they have the potential to do it, and I think everybody would agree, because this is a team that has been getting over 90 and 100 points in Premier League consistently, challenging for the title for 2 or 3 seasons consecutively. So if there was one club in the Premier League that had the ability to go from 9 to top 4, that has to be Liverpool. And
They did it. They did it. A couple of seasons back, they were 9th. And they finished 3rd. Remember Alvin's header? That's
I think we finished 2nd in that under Solskjaer, right? Yeah.
Probably, yes. That's the same season. Yes.
So they have the potential. They've been very consistent over season by season, and I think it's all about confidence when it comes to Liverpool, because they have match winners, they have Premier League winners, they have probably if not the second best, the best manager in the whole world in Jurgen Klopp. So
yes.
with the right temperament, with the right mentality, and with just a run of good games, couple of victories, 3 victories, they can pile up the pressure on other teams. And certainly as a United fan, I don't like that, because our next Premier League is against Liverpool at Anfield, I think in 5th of March. So that's not good for us, because in between this time we'll be playing Barcelona, we'll be playing Newcastle, and I'm sure there's one more game as well. So definitely a tough ask for Jurgen Klopp, because they are still at the second they're eighth or seventh, but then they definitely have the caliber to climb up and maybe go to top four, because the fourth position is still up for grabs, right? I mean, we're talking about Spurs, maybe Newcastle. So if both of them can't do it, if both of them are consistent in being inconsistent, then in that case, I think Liverpool would be the next best option to grab that spot. And they need Champions League football, right? Next
Right.
season, they want to bring players like Jude Bellingham. Now, there might be an initial contact with the manager and they like each other. That relationship maybe has already been established, but at the same time, you would want to go to a club that plays Champions League football, and Liverpool should be playing Champions League football consistently, based on the current form from the last 3 or 4 years in the Premier League.
Right, right. I just want to bring to your attention. I was just going over the table and then the fixtures. The next time you guys play a Premier League game is on the 5th of March against Liverpool at
Anfield,
Anfield.
yep.
You guys have two games, well, Liverpool has two games in hand when it comes to. You guys have played 24, they've played 22. They're going to be playing Crystal Palace and Wolves next game week, where you guys have no games at all. By the time you guys face each other, it could very well be they have 41 points and you guys are what, on
49.
49?
Yep.
Right. So it could get, feisty and tight by the time you guys face, and it could be a 6-pointer by that point, right?
Yeah, definitely, and that's why it depends on how many tournaments you're playing. What is your squad depth, and I do feel that Liverpool are in a more comfortable spot. I'm not saying that they will be third in the league and we won't be third, but just from a point of view of race, if we are at the same position right now and if we start the race now, I will have to say that they're in a better spot, just based on just being in the Premier League and Champions League, fact that they have really good players in Gakpo and in Nunes who are getting better every game, and then you have people like Salah who can just win you a match just like that, right? And defensively they should be good as well, with Van Dijk and other defenders that they've been performing really well for them. So it is going to be tight. We'll definitely have to wait for Liverpool to see whether they can beat Wolves and Crystal Palace. Not sure if they are a home match. Crystal Palace away is always difficult, and so are Wolves. But again, if they win both of those matches and we face Liverpool on the 5th of March at Anfield, it's going to be one of those matches which is going to be nail biter.
It's always probably the prime one of the prime fixtures of the Premier League, right? United versus Liverpool. It doesn't get any more hostile than that match. Whether it's and then the Anfield is a cauldron when it comes to being an environment, and then their fans are raucous for sure. From my opinion, I think Liverpool has had a change of fortune since this young kid came to the block. Stefan Bajetic, I could be pronouncing his name wrong. He's a unique find, much like what Klopp has done in his past.
Right.
That guy has been a revelation for them. He has brought in so much stability in the midfield. It's crazy. They tried Harvey Elliott at center midfield. They tried Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. They tried Thiago, who just keeps on getting injured and one game off. One game he's a 10 out of 10. The other he's going to be like a 5 out of 10, right? And Henderson, who's been losing legs as well. They just could not find a third replacement for Gini Wijnaldum, and that gap has been there. And it seems like this guy is phenomenal, and he's a future mainstay in Liverpool's midfield heart, and that has probably changed the fortunes. Also, the fact that Darwin Núñez has been performing better now. He's scoring goals. He's taking his chances. He's finishing his dinner. And Gakpo, okay, Cody Gakpo has been scoring goals too, but I mean, I just feel like Darwin Núñez is more of a handful than Gakpo is. He's probably going to be a goal scorer, supreme for sure. However, with Salah and Darwin Núñez, kicking into gear, and this new kid, Stefan playing really well. Van Dijk back. Van Dijk has, even though he's lost his pace with the ACL injury, he brings stability to the back line. You cannot deny it. And And this guy has been having a world-class season. Alisson Becker, listen, I'm going to call it now. He's the best goalkeeper in the world. The kind of saves he makes, if you saw yesterday's game, so good. One-on-one, he is so good at shot stopping. And the Nick Pope penalty, it happened because of him.
Right.
Did you see the pass? If Nick Pope does not come for the ball, Salah is through one-on-one, and there's no way he's not scoring that goal. So Alisson Becker at the back with Van Dijk being back, and finally Trent kind of playing better. Robertson really, getting those crosses in, the midfield looking better. The attack finally kind of clicking into gear. Jota back, and Diaz is supposed to, Luis Diaz is supposed to come back anytime now, probably within the next 3-4 weeks. I think they have a good shout at, finishing third or fourth. I mean, I'm saying third, highly unlikely, but fourth for sure. I think it's Newcastle's place to lose. And if anybody takes that spot, I don't think it's going to be Spurs. I think it's going to be Liverpool. I have a good feeling about it. Liverpool's probably going to snatch top four.
Right.
And then they have a big game coming up this Tuesday, I believe, against Real Madrid. That game, we've seen two finals, right? Real Madrid versus Liverpool.
Yep.
And both times Liverpool lost those games, but I think they'll be out for vengeance and trying to get a good result, because Real Madrid hasn't been their glittering best this season. You can tell by the table, the La Liga table. Barcelona has a healthy lead over them, whereas they've got a lot of host of new players. Real Madrid is far beyond in their project, and with proven records and things like that, right? But I think it's going to be a tough game. What do you see this result being? Is it in Anfield or is it in Bernabeu? Let me have a look quick.
Not sure actually, but think about.
What do you think this game is going to be like?
Sorry.
What do you think this game is going to be like? Who's going to take the points?
I'm not really sure. It depends on what Klopp wants. I mean, definitely this is one of the tournaments that will be favored by Liverpool. And the thing about Real Madrid is, I just feel that they're a different team when it comes to Champions League football. We've seen time and again them, recovering from really bad situations in a match where they are 2 goals, 3 goals down or trailing, and coming back and winning the matches. And that's what Real Madrid they do. I mean, they are all about the Champions League. I mean, of course, they would want to win the La Liga as well. And I haven't followed La Liga much this season, and I have no idea why there's how is Barcelona playing so well. I think they've conceded only 7 goals this season, which is shocking because we scored 2. That's almost like 25%, right? So I don't know. Maybe that's just the Spanish league being the Spanish league. No disrespect, but I just think that Real Madrid in a Champions League match, it's a different team altogether. They just have the ability to quickly, just change the game.
Real Madrid in the Champions League, they're synonymous, right? But so are Liverpool. They have got European pedigree as well, right? I mean, they're European. You could consider them as European royalty as well, Liverpool, right? And this game is in Anfield, so I think it's going to be a great game. Liverpool's finally getting their mojo back, and I would say it's probably going to be a draw, just because with Vinicius, Rodrigo, Benzema, they have too much firepower to lose the game with this Liverpool team. Even though they're getting back to their best, they're still not their best.
Mm-hmm.
I think a draw would be a fair result, right?
Definitely for Real Madrid, I guess, at Anfield, till they go back to Bernabeu and they can totally take the game to them. But I mean, it's going to be a very exciting match because Liverpool, like you said, they are back in form. But I still feel, with the new players coming in, they've still not built that chemistry in the team. And Real Madrid, they're just ready.
Yeah. They have a leaky defense, because yesterday, even with 10 men, Newcastle, broke them apart many times, and they could have, scored 2 goals for sure. They did look brittle, even with if it wasn't for Alisson Becker, wasn't for Mr. Becker, they would for sure, have conceded goals for sure. So now I want to head over to the top of the league with the 3 teams. I want to call it a title 3-way, race, with the 2 teams from Manchester and Arsenal, at the top of the league. So let's start with United.
Is that an Arsenal jersey?
It is from the 1940s,
Wow,
right around World War, it was between the 1936 and 1949 seasons. And yeah, it's vintage Arsenal. Yeah.
very nice.
Yeah, I got it delivered from London. Actually, a friend of mine got it delivered for me on my birthday. So, so yeah, let's talk about United now. Listen, you're here repping United, and I saw the game, just a couple, hours back, and they looked today. I was so impressed. Right now, I'm happy for United just because I believe they are English royalty, and then they are a club with humongous pedigree in the Premier League and heritage as well. Well, probably they're the biggest club in England anyway, and probably in the world as well. And they looked like the old United, the pre-David Moyes United, the one that used to play under Sir Alex Ferguson. The movement was, flamboyant. The players were loving it. Sancho looked like a player reborn, even though he came in the second half. I did not watch the first half. You can probably comment on the whole game because you're obviously watched the entire thing. But in the second half, the movement was fluid. They could have scored, 4 goals in the second half if it was not for, Wout Weghorst, a striker that does not deserve to play in a title race, in my opinion. So, yeah, take it away. What do you think about Manchester United?
I think that Eric Ten Hag has definitely transformed the team into a group of 11 players playing together, which was not there last season. We had 3 managers last season with so many issues, whether it's locker room leaks to the Ronaldo issue to just so many with the Greenwood stuff coming up as well at some point. I think as a United fan, I am very surprised to see the change happen so soon. If I'm
That's
being
fast.
completely frank, because it is a big club, and we've seen so many world class managers come here and fail. Fail not in a bad way, but then I'm just using that term to say like Manchester United deserves to be at least in the top 4 every season, and that has not been happening. So for someone who's coming from the Dutch league, yes, he's won the Dutch league and he's very reputed, and he was coaching Bayern Munich's I think youth team
Yeah.
under Pep at some point, but still like even with that resume, for someone to come in and change things so quickly and swiftly, it is I'm sure it's surprising for every United fan, and that is very motivating for the team to play together and get results like these, because I think we are the only club in Europe that is playing all the tournaments, and we've been
Yes, you can
playing.
still do the quadruple. Yeah, you can do the quadruple.
Yeah, but
You're
that's not
still.
realistic. But I think somewhere down the line, like from Eric Ten Hag's point of view, I think he wants to do it. Now, whether it's to do it
Of
from
course.
point of view of fight or just to go there and win, that I mean, I guess the results will dictate that. But at the same point, I think Eric Ten Hag is a serial winner. That's his temperament. Yes, he was the manager of Ajax. It's the Dutch league. It's not at the same quality as the Premier League, but just from an attitude perspective, I think he's one of those managers who wants to get things done the way he likes it. And he has been able to transform a lot of players who were in really bad shape and form last season. Someone like Rashford, who was in and out with injury, in and out with form as well. For someone like that to score uh, almost like in every game after the World Cup,
Like 15
it
goals in the
almost
past.
seems unreal.
Yeah, no, 16 goals in the past 17 games. Yeah, something
Exactly,
like
which is crazy. It's bizarre. I mean, no one would have
that.
bought that if I told you that before the World Cup,
Like
right? So,
world
and
class.
also like improving players like I would say Aaron Wan-Bissaka. We were very close to selling him. Of course, we didn't get a buyer or the right price, and we didn't sell him. But at the same point, he was in the transfer list, and somehow he has figured out how to be valuable to the team. Yes, he has his weaknesses going forward, but defensively, he's been rock solid. He's been able to give us clean sheets, a lot of them, and that just goes to show that Ten Hag is a manager that can understand your strengths as a player and somehow fit it in into his philosophy of how he wants to play. And that's been working really well. We have been lucky with Casemiro buying someone from Real Madrid and working out really well. And Martinez has been a revelation as well. Again, another Dutch league player who people barely knew about him before he came here, so people were
Jamie
speculating.
Carragher called him out, right?
I'm sorry, what?
Jamie Carragher called him out, right?
Yeah, Jamie Carragher, Souness. Let's see. Both of them Liverpool, both of them having agendas. So that's pretty obvious. But I think I saw a Sky interview where Jamie did admit that he was wrong, although he
Oh,
did say that he would fail at some point, which is so typical of Jamie, being a Liverpool fan. But at the same time, yeah, he's proved a lot of people wrong. And I think Eric Ten Hag has also proved a lot of people wrong, because when we were out there getting a new manager, it was between Eric Ten Hag and Poch, and all the pundits, all the media, people in the media, they were leaning towards Poch. Now, whether it's because it's Poch or whether people don't know enough about Eric Ten Hag, it can be either of the situations. But the only people who wanted to get Eric Ten Hag were the fans, and they got Eric Ten Hag, which was great because this guy has dealt with a lot of crap in the last season, with the Ronaldo issue, with the captaincy issue, with players not performing, and he's changed things. Harry Maguire might still be the club captain, but somehow he's able to figure out how to keep the dressing room together, even if he's sitting on the bench and not playing, and Bruno is wearing the armband. So it's all about the chemistry at the end of the day. And for a big club like Manchester United, where you need to perform in every game and get a result, that's the expectation. It's really important to have your main players, like the whole squad, stick together. And I think that's the biggest win for Eric Ten Hag, and it's probably only going to get better from here. And as far as the title race is concerned, I don't think we were ever favorites for the title race.
come
And I think
on, come on.
even now,
We don't
it's
want
not.
modesty on the goal line, channel here. No modesty, please.
No, it's not modesty. It's
Let's be real.
I'm actually being realistic. If you look at the number of matches that we have, if you look at the number of injuries we are sustaining, if you look at the number of tournaments that we are playing, we are going to slip up. Now, whether it's going to happen with Barcelona in the next match, or at Anfield, or somewhere, or maybe the Carabao Cup final, we don't know. These players are continuously playing 2 to 3 games every week, and there will be a dip, and that is justified, right? I mean, that will happen. Now, when it happens, we don't know, but it will definitely happen, and that's one of the reasons why I think we will not be challenging the title realistically, because at the end of the day, Premier League is very fierce, and we just talked about Liverpool trying to come back to the top four, right? So, with Liverpool coming there, Newcastle trying to be in top four, and also Spurs trying to see if they can sneak in, it's going to be a lot of people need to be patient. I think with United,
Of course.
getting top four and maybe winning a cup is a fantastic turnaround from last season, and who knows, if the Qatari people buy us, we'll be coming with money as well. So get ready, City. We are coming. That's what I'd say to a City fan, by
Awesome,
the way.
awesome. That was a great land for sure. Um, the first lines that I want to start with, and I want to speak about United, is that I'm scared. I'm scared for the future. You already mentioned it with the Qatari, investment. Whoever buys them doesn't matter. If the debt is taken care of, United produces so much dough every year. They don't need any further investment. They can invest their own money every season in, season out. They can invest 200 plus, 250 million plus every summer window. Now, why am I scared? I was not scared before, since Ferguson left. And we had managers like Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho. You had Ollie, right? Ollie at the wheel, the famous Ollie at the wheel. I was never scared, just because these were all puppets who were looking to spend big. And I know I'm going to say something controversial here, but I'm not the kind of football fan that loves nonsensical spending, right? And I've seen United do that, whether it's Paul Pogba, whether it's paying obnoxious salaries to players like Alexis Sanchez, bringing in a 35-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo. There's no project in line. When you plan a project, you have at least 4 or 5 years planned. There's a contingency plan. The kind of players they brought, I know Varane is playing well. I get it. You can bring in one or two solid heads, with Casemiro being a 30, 31-year-old, he can still give you another 4 years. I think Varane is also 30 years or 31, I think, if I'm not wrong. So it's still fine. But they brought a lot of players. They spent crazy amounts of money on Sancho, now Antony as well. However, Eric Ten Hag does not treat people based on their transfer fees. I saw that from day one. He did not give two shits about whether Sancho is a 100 million player. He shipped him to, I don't know, the French Alps or something to do ninja training. And his comeback as a revelation, he's been so good. He didn't care what kind of salary he's on. He ensured that Ronaldo does not get the better of him. And he did not. Ronaldo is plying his trade, and we're in the middle of the desert in the Middle East right now. And Ronaldo was toxic. He needed to go. He was toxic. Does not matter whether he's the greatest goal scorer of all time or not. He is. Love the guy to bits. I'm jealous of him. I've always been a Messi fan, but I know that guy is one of the GOATs for sure. But what he was doing at United, he was causing hindrance for the club to grow, because he was holding a position where others just could. The fluidity was missing with Ronaldo playing. That was him. Even with Antony, he came for big money. He's not been afraid to drop him, even though he's his purchase. How much money the United backroom spends on a player to land a player, that's not Eric Ten Hag's decision, right? Eric Ten Hag probably went and be like, hey, I want Lisandro Martinez. I want Frankie de Jong. He didn't come, obviously. I want Antony. They landed two of the targets. Good for him. But at least he's not swayed by the transfer fee. He knows how to call the shots in the dressing room. He has control, unlike Graham Potter, who has no control over the dressing room, right? You can clearly tell that he could not impose himself on the Chelsea dressing room. Whereas with Eric Ten Hag, oh yeah, you better believe all those players respect what this guy says. And with Rashford, in the beginning, he was not getting game time. I remember in the beginning of the season, he was not. And Eric Ten Hag ensured that Rashford puts his head down, trains hard, comes back with, strong mentality. And how has he come back? He is world class. He's playing at the levels of Mbappe's and then the Haalands of the world. He's probably got 32 goals and assists this season. And Haaland's got, 36 or 37? So you see the numbers are there. And he has turned his game around so well. He nutmegs players at the speed of light. And he could have had a hat-trick today as well. He was taken off at 60 minutes because there's a more important game coming up in the middle of the week with Barcelona, right? United is looking scary to me. And with Casemiro's addition, and if they can, add maybe a backup midfielder to Casemiro as a, central defensive midfielder, just because, I think Fred played well today, but he's got mistakes in him. Every, once or twice in every 2-3 games, Fred is gonna, come out, unglued, and then he's gonna cause problems for United. Eriksen is a short gap option. They need some midfield reinforcements coming up this year, and they will be a scary team. I said it first here on the goal line gossip. United will be challenging for the title next year as well. I think they're challenging for the title right now. They are, as we speak, after 24 games, but next season 100% they will be in and around the title conversation for sure.
I'm not sure about next season, but definitely in the coming years, because next season I think will the transfer window, because we need players, right? You mentioned Fred. We need a midfielder. We need somebody who can also.
The whole squad, though.
I'm sorry,
Saul. You don't need a whole squad here. Listen, the mentality has been already bred in. The mentality is already there. The club has, you can tell that the dressing room is ready to play Ten Hag football.
Yeah, but it's also, I'm talking about skill level, right? So every player comes with a skill level. Now, Fred has always been a hit or a miss player. Sometimes he's phenomenal. Sometimes you can't find his Brazilian passport, right? So that's has been trend ever since he set foot at Old Trafford, and again, like,
Right.
so Fred only plays now because Ericsson is injured, and
Of
Ericsson
course.
is also a short gap. So
Casemiro.
just based on that, we need somebody, like, maybe we go back for Frankie De Jong, or we find someone, or we just take Sabitzer and say, hey, we'll just use Sabitzer for the next season. We have to figure it out. And the reason why I'm not 100% confident about challenging the title next season is just because our club is also for sale, and I have a feeling with the way Glazers work, this club sale is going to take a considerable amount of transfer window time out, which means we are not going to buy players at the right time, and then they're going to be too expensive, or they're going to get sold to other teams, and that might impact the overall progress.
That's
So
true.
that's something that I'm worried about. But at the end of the day, if the sale happens before the transfer window, and whether it's Jim Ratcliffe or the Qataris, I'm pretty sure they're going to spend in their first transfer window. They are not going to
Right.
come up as
Yeah.
a owner who don't want to spend in the first season, right? So I'm
Mm.
positive. I'm very positive about that. So yeah, let's see what happens. I'm super happy with
Yeah.
how they're
Yeah.
doing, and let's just hope
You
for the
hit the
best.
nail on the right. You hit the nail on the head for sure. But the reason I'm saying they're going to be challenging for the title next season, I'm sure of this, is because they need to buy just a couple of players, in my opinion, to challenge for the title. And the levels of City and Liverpool have fallen. They are no longer the Centurions, in my opinion. City, in order to go back to being Centurions, they will also need to buy, two, three, four players. You're looking at getting right backs and left backs and possibly a winger, a midfielder. They need players too, right? So I think the gap is closer than it has been ever in the past 5 years. And I truly believe that next season, Arsenal, United, City, Liverpool are definitely going to be, challenging for the title. All four teams.
Yeah,
Liverpool, maybe not. I'm not quite sure, but for these three teams, I'm pretty sure they will be.
yeah,
Okay.
but it's just
Now,
that the Premier League is so unpredictable. Like, when we were, if we go back to the start of the season, no one predicted United would finish top four, right? And now you're saying maybe we are in the title race. So it depends. It depends on a lot of things. But speaking of championships and Premier Leagues, let's talk about the two realistic teams who can win the Premier League this year. It's Arsenal and sorry, Man City. What are your thoughts on Arsenal's performance coming off from a loss at Emirates with City and winning it, with Unai's Aston Villa? Uh, what were your thoughts? Because I think at some point Arteta, uh, he was nagging about things like we are playing too many games, injuries, and stuff like that. And sometimes those things come off as weaknesses for managers when they come up with these excuses. But on the field, they proved everybody wrong, and they won the match where City lost. So drew, sorry. So we'll go to that later. But what are your thoughts on Arsenal winning at Villa Park?
yeah. So first of all, to my fans in the other part of the world in India, um, I would like to say good evening. Good evening. Now, moving on to the question at hand, Arsenal. Listen, it's no longer a hidden truth that Arsenal's the real deal this season. They have been for sure. Um, Before the start of the season, there were no believers. People had Arsenal out of the top four predictions. They thought, and I've spoken to you and numerous other fans, and I've seen other fan channels as well. People thought that last year when we missed out on the top four, that was the closest we were going to get anytime soon. I did not believe it. I thought that last year top four was ours. The only reason we did not get it was because of significant injuries to Thomas Partey and Kieran Tierney. Those are irreplaceable assets in our team. This season, as soon as the preseason started, I saw something special in this team. I saw the cohesiveness, the way we were playing, and attacking balls, the counter attacks, and the way we were being able to keep possession, and we were not letting anybody keep possession, and we were hounding them down in like twos and threes, packs of twos and three wolves at one point. It filled me with hope. And then the season began. And I saw result after result, and I just, got more and more optimistic. People started to get on board. You know what? This is just the early season. Hula here. No, it wasn't. I was trying to, defend my club, saying this isn't. We were questioned that. Listen, once the World Cup comes, you guys will see. You guys are going to fall away. Did not happen. They said, oh, Jesus is now injured. You're going to fall away. Did not happen. People said before the World Cup, back in November, oh, you remember Arsenal and the November Blues? You're going to fall away. Did not happen. Obviously, people have been speaking about the February Blues, which is still, we're still not done with February. It seems like we might be ending February still at the top of the league, still unscathed. Of course, we've had, a cushion that we created ourselves. I don't want people to, get it wrong. We earned the cushion where we dropped points. The 7-8 points that we've dropped in the past, 2, 3, 4 game weeks, we earned that cushion. We had a centurion, equivalent calculation. We had 50 points at 19 games. So hence we earned that cushion to, drop off, have the dip. Every champion team, whether it's City or Liverpool, no team wins 38 games, right? So every team has this 2, 3 dips here and there. Now, whether we'll get another dip or not, I'm sure we will, because I've seen our performance and our team has been found out. Meaning, initially we were not garnering the amount of respect that we are getting now. Okay, even a Manchester City, a Pep Guardiola team. Let me give you the stat. Pep Guardiola had his lowest ever possession percentage in a game in his entire career, encompassing Barcelona, the famous, Barcelona team that he managed, Bayern Munich, Manchester City. It's been over a decade that he's been managing, for almost 15 years, he was been managing big clubs. This is the lowest percentage of possession that he had against Arsenal at the Emirates, 36%. What it tells you is that he knew that he was not going to be able to play his own game in our yard and get the better of us. He knew that, so he conceded on that front. However, where they were better is the fact that they have better finishers, they have better assisters, and they have better pre-assisters, which we are still lacking. We do not have the quality of a Bernardo Silva, Riyad Mahrez, Kevin De Bruyne, Erling Haaland, Phil Foden, or Jack Grealish.
But is it safe to assume that, when you're talking about the differences between type of players and squad depth and things like that, which I completely agree, but what about the differences in managers as well? Is it safe to assume that when Arteta is playing Pep knows Arteta from a point of view of him being a Man City at some point of view, or the way he plays, and Pep also being the superior tactician, right? So being able to figure out, hey, we're going to give them the ball and wait on them to make an error so that we can counter and score. Right. So do you think that Arteta will be able to, whether it's through patchwork or whatever, figure it out till the end of the season and get results and hopefully win the league?
Right. Before I get to this question, Saul, I'm going to tell you that what I've noticed in the past 5 game weeks is that Sean Dyche was the first to do it, first of all. Big bad Sean Dyche found us out with the low block. We are prone to not being able to create easy chances when we're playing against a low block. Newcastle did that with us, and we just thought that they're good defensively, right? Because they had really good defensive numbers. But then Everton did it. They were bottom of the league at that time. And we were like, holy, we could not even create a chance. We were top of the league. And this is Everton, the bottom of the league. And they beat us, right? Then came, who did we play? Brentford. They played a low block. Again, remember, they're an attacking team. Brentford is an attacking team. But they decided to, again, play a low block against us. Because they know that if we get flowing with those, tiki-taka passes with 1 touches and 2 touches with Odegaard, Saka, Zinchenko, Partey, there's no stopping us. No team in the league can stop us right now. However, where we could not, break teams down for the past 4 or 5 game weeks, and it's so worrying for us, including Manchester City, is that we have players like Nketiah, we have players like Martinelli, players like Odegaard, who are not supreme finishers or supreme, let me put it this way, third phase of the pitch players. They're not they're great. Maybe they have assists and numbers and all those things, but they're not at the same level of De Bruyne's and Bernardo Silva's and Haaland's when it comes to assists and pre-assists and scoring goals. Okay, finishing their dinners. So that is where we are coming short. And if we do not win the league this year, it will be because of us not being able to finish our chances. Yesterday's game against Aston Villa should have been 6-2, if not 7-2, the kind of chances we had. I'm not sure if you saw the highlights of the game or you watched the game at all. Odegaard missed a sitter. That's a sitter, my dog Theo would probably finish. Eddie Nketiah missing sitter after sitter. Okay, as a Premier League striker, those should be considered as sitters. It's not like he's having to, dribble past 2-3 players. One-on-one chances with headers just to hit the target. He's missing them. He missed a one-on-one where he was, Odegaard squared him through, and then he was one-on-one with the goalkeeper, with Emi Martinez. He shot, above the post. So that is where we are going to be coming unglued if we do lose the league. And also in recent times, I've seen Saliba, Ben White, time to time, Gabriel as well. They have not been performing at the same level they were in the first half of the season, but they're not really bad too. I mean, they're decent, but I think we'll win the league. And I'm saying it, this might come back to haunt me. I just feel like we have been the best team in the league this whole season, followed closely by Manchester United. I know that they're third right now and City is above them, but in terms of playing free-flowing football, United has been the second best team, and we have been the best for sure. We are the best, if you're looking at football from the perspective of a fan trying to derive joy out of just watching gameplay, Arsenal has been the best for sure. We're just not finishing our chances. Hopefully, Jesus is going to come back pretty soon. Partey is going to come back. Smith Rowe is already back in the squad. That problem is going to be solved. Smith Rowe is an exceptional finisher of goals. Jesus, even though he's probably not the best finisher, he does so much more. He contributes to the gameplay. He makes Martinelli and Saka better. Martinelli, has been on and off, hot and cold for the past, 5-6 game weeks since the World Cup ended, right? And that's probably a lot to do with Jesus. When Jesus is in the team, he falls back. He goes to the left. He creates spaces for Martinelli to, take, he takes darting runs. He's the best at that. Martinelli is not being able to do that without Jesus in the team, just because Nketiah is too fixated upon staying in and around the goal, right? And that's about it. I think we're going to be winning the league this year. We still have City to play at the Etihad. I don't think they're at their very best. I have not seen them clicking in their, to their top gear. United is a potential threat, but I think we are a little better off, compared to United. And we will figure out the low block as soon as these players come back. We just got to survive till then. We have pretty winnable fixtures next 4 games, whether it's Everton at the Emirates. We have Leicester away. I think we have Bournemouth in one of the games. And we have one difficult fixture. Is it? I really can't recall the top of my head. But we have winnable games, bottom line. If we can take another 12 points in the next 4 games, I see us having a cushion again. I see us having a 8-point cushion again. And I think that'll see us through to the end. We might choke. Listen, these players are still young. And then if injuries happen, just like last year we missed out on top 4, if we do not have our first 11, our squad is not strong enough to sustain even a top 4 race, let alone a title challenge. So if we're back, we're winning the league. I said it first here again in the first video of Goal Line Gossip. But if we get injuries, please don't get on my back. Get off my back. Don't charge me. I said it as well. We are not going to win the league.
Wow. You came off as someone who was so passionate and so confident about winning the league, and then you went right back on the fence saying, hey, we might screw it up as well, so don't come back and bite me.
Listen, injuries might,
Whatever
health
would be the reason. But yeah, I mean,
we don't have the squad. I'm telling you right now, we don't have the squad to win the league 100%. However, our first 11 is the best first 11 in the entire Premier League right now.
One team that has squad depth and has been winning Premier Leagues is Man City. So let's talk about Man City. In terms of Man City, what do you think is missing? Why why are you, being an Arsenal fan, so confident that you might win the league and City might not? Uh, what do you think has changed from last season? I mean, of course, there are new players in Haaland and maybe the way they play, but yeah, I mean, I'm just interested to know for someone who has been very passionate about whatever Arteta has done with your team, the way you play. You talked about the fans, the passion, that romantic feeling of a young team coming out the ranks and being at the top of the league for so long. What's wrong with a team that has been the best team in England for, let's say, the last 5-6 years, and people are now
They've
talking
won
about, yeah,
four out of the past few years. Yeah.
right, and now people are doubting, or maybe people are just saying maybe they are not at their best. What went wrong this season?
I think it's down to Pep Guardiola. He got too cocky. Okay. His decision to let go of Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus when they clearly don't have a natural left back was folly. Him deciding to let go of Raheem Sterling was folly. Him deciding to tweak with the team way too much throughout the season, whether it's the center back pairing, keeping Ruben Diaz out of the team, not playing Laporte, playing youngsters like what's the guy's name? The curly haired guy, the new kid that they've found,
Yep.
Rico Lewis
Williams,
or something.
Rico Lewis,
Rico
yeah,
Lewis,
yeah.
yeah. Rico Lewis, and depending on players playing Bernardo Silva in a left wing back or left midfield position to cover the left, channel. These are things that tell me that he is way too cocky about his own position, and he really does not. He underestimated Arteta. Otherwise, do you think he would have let Jesus and Zinchenko go to Liverpool at the beginning of the season? What do you think the answer is?
Oh, that's a
No,
good
right?
point. Yeah, and
Never
but
let them go to Liverpool.
what do you think he is thinking right now with that decision where he's sold just two players from City to Arsenal, and arguably they've turned out to be the best players, like at least like one of the best players in your team who
Yeah,
are changing
yeah.
it for him. What do you think? How do you think he's feeling right now?
I think he realizes that he has made a mistake. However, do keep in mind he's the kind of manager um, who never forces players to stay. If a player wants to leave, he has always let them have free reign. He does not want disgruntled, people playing in his team. However, even then, the kind of changes that he's tried to implement this season, he's tried to experiment way too much. He's found success always throughout his life, whether it's Bayern Munich, whether it's even at Bayern Munich, Barcelona, and previously in City. He's never had a big target man. I get it, Lewandowski was a target man, but even with Lewandowski, he's a good one-touch, two-touch player. He's good at passing. He's a good creator as well. He's way more involved in the gameplay than Erling Haaland. He brought in a monster of a goal scorer. Let's not get this twisted. He is phenomenal when it comes to goal scoring, and he's probably going to break records of even the great Cristiano Ronaldo at some point. But he changed his entire playing style. He has lost his, final third fluidity when it comes. Originally, when you think of a City team or a Pep team, you think of Messi, David Villa, Pedro Rodriguez, Thierry Henry, Eto'o. They're all interchanging. They can all play all across the front three or front four, including the number 10 position, somewhere or the other, right? Even with Bayern Munich, they had that with Robben, Ribery, Lewandowski, Thomas Muller, and all these players, right? Even at City, he had his best years with Sergio Aguero, Leroy Sané, Raheem Sterling, Kevin De Bruyne. They were all interchanging. They were all, sometimes getting in positions where they can go score goals. They were going the byline, running the channels to, square a ball. So there's just a tap in for Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, and all these guys, right? He has tinkered with the system way too much, where he's now realizing that it's a little too late. He should have run away with this season too. They should have done the three-peat. But because of his tinkering with the system, he is not going to win the Champions League. Take it from me. And they might win the Premier League just because of us not being ready. But that's the only reason why they would not be winning the league.
Right. I still feel like City will probably win the Premier League, and this is no disrespect to Arteta and Arsenal or you for that instance, but it just seems like they've been the team with all the experience and everything, set to win the league consecutively, unless a team like Liverpool comes in with challenging them, whatever they've done in
Might
the past 3 years.
sorry to interrupt. They might win the league, but that'll not be because they're better than us. That'll be because we have, we're just not ready yet, or we have had some injury problems. That's the only reason. It's not gonna be down to the fact that they are the monster city team of the past. They'll win it just because of some other, other reasons.
Yeah, I mean, and that goes to show about it just talks about the recruitment, right? The making the right recruitment, having the squad depth. Pep, although he overthinkers with his team all the time, he can still get things right just based on his experience and stuff like that. So I do feel they are a better team. Maybe from a performance wise, if you had to compare it with Arsenal's performance, with the young players, Arteta being an underdog and then coming off as almost maybe a champion in the Premier League. If you take those factors into consideration, I understand what you're trying to say, but at the same time, I do feel that City should win the league. I mean, and I think I'm just like doing paper talk because nobody expected them to drop points against Nottingham Forest, right? And they did, and they're back to where they were.
Why did you think that they were not going to drop points against Nottingham? Tell me why. Why? What evidence do you have of this entire season that told you they dropped points against Everton? They dropped points against Crystal Palace. I think they dropped points against another team I just can't recall, which is in the bottom half of the league. What evidence do you have of this season that told you that they're obviously, City, no big team, no, proverbial big team would lose points against the bottom of the league. But what made you think that they're invincible this season?
Because of City, it's their temperament, and the only difference between City then and now, at least like now from a perspective of before the game happened with Nottingham Forest, they were top of the league, which did not happen for a long time. Arsenal has been, ranked one for
You got a point there. You got a point
the
there.
whole
Yeah.
thing, right? And City is that sort of a team. Once they get going, you expect them to deliver, and they didn't, which is shocking. And that's why you might say that they are not the same team that they were last year, and they need to fix that because they usually get things right once they get the scent of victory or even like a good half in a whole game. So from my perspective, that was my expectation. I still have it. This is just one game, but yeah, I mean, if we go forward 2 to 3 weeks from now, and if City still continues to drop points, whether through a draw or a loss, then I think, yeah, I mean, it's very obvious that they won't be able to sustain and give Arsenal the competition because they just lost. They lost like 2 points. I mean, they beat Arsenal at Emirates that nobody else has done this season with a convincing 3-1 victory, and you cannot drop points against Nottingham Forest, even if it's like an away match for City standards. So yeah, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Listen, we're drawing to a close of our show, the first ever show on the Goal Line Gossip here. I want to ask you, what is your top four this season? Today is the February 19th. I'm going to hold you to it, so let's hear it before we, get done with this recording.
Do you want the top four, or do you want me to like rank them in order as well?
I want you to rank in order, yeah.
I think City will win. Very minutely. I'm talking about like just like last season with Liverpool, or the one where the Aguero goal, something like that. So I am expecting a very thrilling Premier League title race for the remaining season. But I do speculate the City will win. But at the same time, if they don't, second place has to be like Arsenal for sure. With Manchester United at third, and fourth, I would say it's going to be either Spurs or Liverpool.
You got to choose one.
I would go for Spurs. I think that they have an opportunity. Conte has an opportunity to save the season somehow with whatever.
They won today. They won 2-0 today, yeah.
So there you go. And if they can keep this up, I think they have enough gap between Liverpool and them, and also like with Newcastle dropping points, it's the perfect opportunity for them to secure the top four, at least like stay in the game and not have that gap increase. What about you? What's your prediction?
Right. I'd start with fourth position, and I'm going to say it's going to be Liverpool at fourth. I would say it's going to be Manchester City at number three. I'm going to say it's going to be Manchester United at second. And I'm going to say it's going to be Arsenal at the top of the table come May 6th or May 7th, whenever the league ends. Okay.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We got to keep this clipped out so that, when it does come true or it doesn't, I can either gloat or I can be the end point of banter, right? So let's wrap it up here, Saul. It was a fantastic show. Thank you so much for joining, and hopefully you guys really like the show. And we're going to be releasing and sharing it on the different platforms like YouTube. We're going to share it on our personal pages of Facebook and Instagram and places like that. So if you really enjoyed the show, don't be pitting on us. We don't want anybody to give us, any form of pity or anything. If you enjoyed the show, if you think we talked sense, if you liked what we were saying, do give us a like, comment, share your thoughts, share the videos with your other friends. And yeah, we'd really like to hear back from you guys. Okay? Well, ciao. Peace out.